What's good, everyone? Infamous Legacy here, back at it again with another Marvel's Avengers gear guide video. And in this gear guide video, I'll be taking a look at Hulk's Apex Power exotic gear set. And with this gear set, you guys can obtain it from the priority mission after every daily reset. And also, if you're playing the game during the Ruskaya Protocol event, you guys can also get it from here. The hero-specific objectives will award you a melee and defensive piece. And then there's a main objective from the event that'll award all your heroes a defensive and heroic piece. Just make sure your heroes are above the power level 120. So let's go ahead and have a look at Hulk's gear set, the Apex Power gear set. It's also known as a Planet Cracker set. With this particular gear set, just like all the other heroes, the heroic and defensive pieces are the pieces that you want to really aim for when you're trying to farm this gear. And then with Hulk, since he is a melee character, you obviously want his heroic piece to have Valor and Might. And if you want Resolve on it, you can also get that. But with this piece, this is a really good piece, especially when you're taunting enemies. So if you guys are not aware, to taunt enemies, you can actually even use your support heroic ability, Bone Shaker. So when enemies are around and you activate that support heroic ability, you'll be taunting them. And then these perks right here will take effect. Taunted Breaker, increase the damage dealt to taunted enemies by 20%. And then you have the third perk, Aggressive Buff, 40.4 chance defeating taunted enemies grants a damage buff that increases the damage output while active. So those two perks right there that I just mentioned relates to that taunting ability. And then you also have Bone Shaker Overdrive, 125% increase intrinsic regeneration while Bone Shaker is active. So this is a really good piece, especially if you're running like a taunted build. So with Bone Shaker as well, it also gives you the ability to, stay armored, if you guys are not aware of that. So now moving on to the defensive slot. So with the defensive slot, this can roll with Resilience, Resolve, and Intensity. This is also a decent piece, not the greatest defensive slot you can get for a hero, but if you just want to have it to have some extra defense, you definitely can use it. Bone Shaker Rush, melee attacks slowly regenerate health while Bone Shaker is active. So this piece right here also relates to the Bone Shaker ability, which is your support heroic. And then it also has Taunted Safeguard, minus 20% damage reduction from any taunted enemies. So when you have taunted those enemies with Bone Shaker and they attack you, there's a minus 20% damage reduction from those enemies. And then we have Aggressive Rush, restore 5% of your max health whenever you defeat a taunted enemy. So these two pieces right here go hand in hand, basically just with the taunted abilities that it has on the gear. So if you guys are running, again, that taunted setup, you definitely can, play around with these gear pieces, but more so it's usually the heroic piece that you want to keep, and then you can always find better gear pieces on the other remaining slots. Moving on to the range piece, obviously with this it only comes with precision, intensity, and proficiency, and it can also roll with different stats. It also has a rage taunt perk, taunt perk as well. So the taunt perk here is 24.3 chance to taunt an enemy after a successful range attack. So you can even taunt an enemy by throwing a rock at them, so when you have this piece equipped. But again, with Hulk, he is a melee character, so you're really not going to be using something like this. But if you again want to try it out, definitely can. Maybe if you're running like a precision Hulk build, but we already know like those builds are very hard to come by. Moving on to the melee piece. This melee piece can roll with proficiency, might, and resilience. And with this piece, when you're trying to, farm for like a melee piece in general with Hulk, make sure it has light combo finishers and power attacks. Those are two perks that you want to make sure every melee piece has, just because those are the attacks you're going to be using more often. And then this also has a taunt perk, 80.9% when an enemy is hit by a light combo finisher, the enemy becomes taunted. So with this Planet Cracker or Apex Power gear set, you guys can see it all relates to the taunt. Because with Hulk, this is probably a great setup to use if you're trying to be in that tank role. because then you'll be able to taunt enemies away from your teammates, and you'll also be able to do some decent damage to those taunted enemies as well, and have a high defense when you're fighting those enemies because of some of these perks. So that is Hulk's Apex Power exotic gear set that you guys can get from the priority mission or the Ruskaya Protocol event. If you guys do have any questions, let me know in the comments below. Until next time, I'm out. Peace.